The Car is a movie that came out in 1977 about a killer car. It got a PG rating, but back then, the PG rating could get away with a lot more stuff. And the PG-13 rating didn't exist yet. So I'm going to see if this movie would still get a PG rating today. The Car is a movie that came out in 1977 about a killer car. This movie is about a car that just drives around and kills people. They made it so that it doesn't really show the violence, but it does show what's happening. It's like they were trying to avoid gore, but yet they still wanted the violence in the movie. So it opens with a man and a woman riding bikes, and the car comes up behind them. So it runs the woman down first, and the way it's edited is just great. First off, why don't they go into the other lane? Here, she is way past where the car initially hits her, and then it shows her at the beginning of the barrier when she gets hit, but yet her blood is all the way over at the end of the barrier when she never even reached that far. As you can see, it's not graphic, but it does show cuts of her getting hit by the car. The same when the guy gets hit by the car, it shows it bumping into his rear wheel a couple times, and then it cuts to him just flipping over the ledge of this bridge in a pretty unrealistic way. But it's the 70s, so what else do you expect? The next time we see the car, there is a guy outside playing an instrument, and he sees a man abusing his wife, but again, it doesn't show any violence. The guy threatens him if he doesn't leave, so he is waiting and hoping to hitch a ride with someone. He sees a car coming in the distance, and it's the killer car, so it tries to run him over, but he dodges out of the way, and he flips the car off. So the car backs up, tries running him over again, he dives, and there's a whole bunch of dust coming up, so it's kind of obscuring what's happening. And the third time, it does run him over, but it cuts to the guy above, looking down on it. So there's a whole bunch of dirt, and you can't see what's happening. The next time the car shows up, it is sitting in the dark across the street from the man earlier and his wife. So the cop leaves the station, goes out onto the street, and the car turns on and floors it, and it cuts the inside of the police station, and they can hear tires squealing and banging, and they go outside, and it shows the officer laying in the street dead. There's no blood in this scene, and it doesn't show any injuries on him. He's just laying there. So they put him in a body bag, and that's the end of the scene. One of the police officers is waiting for the car on the highway. So the car goes up to him, so the officer gets into his car, but the killer car traps the officer in and pushes the car off a cliff. So as the car is rolling down the cliff, it explodes and there's a huge fireball. The final full act of violence is when the car kills the main character's girlfriend. And I think this might be the best death I've ever seen. So she's in her living room, talking on the phone, and saying how scared she is, and the car just floors it towards her house, somehow gets in the air and just plows through the house like nothing and drives off. It's made to be scary, but it actually came off as hilarious. There's not any people on people violence in this movie. All of the violence is done by the car running people over. This movie is a horror movie, so there are some scenes that could be seen as frightening. Whenever the car is driving up to people, it shows the view from inside the car looking out the front windshield, and it has a red tint and creepy music playing. There's a scene where a group of children and a couple of adults run into a cemetery to get away from the car, and the car is not able to drive into the cemetery, so it just kind of drives back and forth towards the entrance and drives around the cemetery while everyone hides behind tombstones. One of the adults stands up and starts yelling at the car and insulting it, which is making it more mad. So it increases its ferocity and driving around. There's a scene where the main character finds the killer car in his garage, and he puts his foot out in front of it a few times and it lurches forward and then pulls back. Eventually the car busts through the garage door when he gets on his motorcycle and tries to leave. This leads to a chase scene that lasts quite a while. But since this is a movie from the 70s, by today's standard, it's not really that scary or intense. There's quite a bit of language for a PG-rated movie. People say shit about 3 or 4 times, and there's a lot of other language. Son of a bitch is said a few times. Damn and hell are said quite often. So while back in 1977, this movie did deserve a PG rating, if this was released now, I don't think that it would get a PG rating. I think it would most likely be rated PG-13 for horror violence and language. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. If you want to see more videos on movies and why they got a certain MPAA rating, subscribe to my channel. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at MovieMortalYT. Thanks for watching.